And now NRG has got to stay on the stage and get ready for a really tough matchup up against Dignitas, a team they probably didn't expect to see here down in the group stages. I mean, these are the two of the top teams in the world, undoubtedly. What are the things that you're looking out for in this game, Jeff?
I want to see Zyrhoes step away from that Thoth a little bit from yesterday, and I just want to see Dig play their game.
What happened to Thoth, Mike? I mean, it was like the mid laner for a long time, and now he has not had a lot of success here.
I think it's just early game. I mean, to go off Jeff's point, like Dig was like the original team putting a ton of pressure mid, putting like a hunter and a mage in mid, and then they just like completely switched it. They didn't look like themselves at all yesterday. I think they go back to their normal strategies.
And I believe AMC was banned in a lot of that set. I don't have the
They were
picks and
first pick,
bans.
first ban in an all online split, yeah.
Right. So if that's the strategy, and Zyrhoes doesn't have the most traditional god pool, I would say, and it has been effective for them so far during the fall split, but when you get to a LAN setting like this and teams have, weeks to prepare for you, NRG is going to know what Dignitas want to pick. But on the same side, Dignitas knows what NRG wants to pick. These are two of the more predictable teams in picks and bans. They usually just beat you by being better than you in the game. And those sorts of matchups can tend to be kind of volatile.
I'm pretty sure if we see Zyrhoes like swap over to, trying to run that AMC or trying to run even Morgan or even a Soul or something that's also a Zyrhoes god.
Right.
But they're just going to do fine. I was talking to the Dig guys yesterday a little bit after, and they've all been playing for long enough to know that even if you're getting 3-0'd, sometimes that just happens, right? Sometimes you're on an off day. Sometimes people just aren't playing. And I was talking to them this morning. They're feeling good. They're feeling comfortable.
I mean, that has got to be one of those. Game 3, I bet you the Dig guys just kind of throw out and pretend like it never happened. Because when you lose a game like Game 2, I think everyone in the building knew that Game 3 was going to rival.
Yeah, and I think another advantage that Dig actually has is Qvofred and Trix were in the spot last year where they, on Orbit, they lost to a Bay in the semifinals. They went down to groups. I think they played, I don't want to say tilted, but they were definitely like a little frustrated. They weren't themselves. I think they're going to learn from that, and I think they're going to come out, just try to stomp teams, get a ton of momentum, and make them scared of playing them.
I mean, they ended up helping you guys qualify for Worlds, Jeff. And why didn't you guys drop down into groups, throw your set against Space Station, and then try and help them here? That was kind of rude of you, to be honest.
Yeah, you should probably have their back.
They're better men than us. What can I say?
I just don't understand why they would do that for you and you wouldn't do that for them. It's
unbelievable.
All right. You don't have anything to say,
men.
and
They're
honestly,
I'm not.
Fair enough.
Whatever. Just cut the
Jeff
show,
Inla.
dude. Like
Scumlord support for Luminosity. I kid, of course. You guys had a great setup against Space Station. So Dignitas here has to kind of reset off of their tough set. And NRG, look, we all know that they don't want to be down in groups to start. They don't want to be one of these wildcard teams that have to play all these one-game sets against everybody else. But to not have a set where you lose and lose some confidence and kind of get your chance to boot camp like they did and kind of ramp up, can that kind of not necessarily be a confidence booster, but you don't have any lack of confidence from losing a set earlier on?
Yeah, absolutely. Like so. It's almost like they have a bye, right? Like you would look at it in a similar way where you're coming in fresh. Like maybe you didn't get some, you didn't get LAN game time or a little bit of gameplay, but you're coming in fresh. You're feeling good. You're like, all right, we came off our gauntlet win, and now we're here. We're ready to play. We knew about this beforehand. Like we're just good to go.
And that is one of those situations where not having LAN gameplay for a team like NRG, who had so much LAN experience. Once you get over the first few lands, Mike, is it as simple as just loading in and you're like, okay, I remember what this is like now?
Yeah, of course. And well, also from coming from ALG last year, where we weren't in the semifinals and we were just getting ready for groups, you get to watch every other team. You get to watch what they struggled with when they lost their semis. You're not coming off a loss, so your morale is really good. On top of that, the boot camp gives them time with maniaKK. They only had him for like, everyone's freaking out, like, is the change good? Is it not? They only had him for like a month and a half. They got a whole extra month to work with him, get their synergy down with adapting. So I think they're going to be much improved coming into this.
How well do you think maniaKK has kind of assimilated during that short time? And even in the one game where we saw them up against Noble just now, a lot of focus was paid by adapting to his lane to make sure that he had a matchup ahead.
I think at the start it was rough, but I thought he looked great in that game versus Noble. I thought he was dominating Walrus, dominating that lane, pushing his lead super aggressively. And that's what maniaKK wants to do, right? If he can just be a bully, that's perfect for them.
Jeff, you've been in a situation where you win a world championship and then have a solo lane change midway through the next season. What's that like?
It's not as easy as you would think, but it's not as hard as you would think, right? Like, so the solo laner and the assassin have to work super well together to dive your backline. You need them to be bullies, and it takes a little bit of time to build that up because sometimes people want to go in here, they don't want to go in here, like, and they just view the game differently. But it looks like it's all coming together.
Also, God pool adjustments maybe as well.
Sure, and Demi and maniaKK have some similarities in God pool, but the playstyle feels a little bit different, at least for me. maniaKK is a guy that has historically not had a jungler take a lot of his farm, and he kind of gets to be big and bulky and then do whatever he wants. Adapting is not the guy that's going to let you solo farm solo lane all day long. I mean, that was always the talking point with NRG, is that Demi's going to get some of his farm stripped away, and then Adapting and Demi are going to do it together. And I think, at least for me, it took a little bit of time for maniaKK to adjust to that.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, I'm not sure if it was picked up on the cast, but Adapting like built full tank that game. So they were being like bruisers together. It wasn't like Adapting was going for this hyper carry Thor like he would in the years past. They were trying to just frontline together, and I thought that was really interesting.
So I've got a couple support players with me on the desk, and
no everyone's talent up here for sure.
None whatsoever, especially on this side of the desk. Yeah. Now everyone always for NRG is talking about Adapting and Yammyn and emilitoo, but Raffer is like really sick at Smite. What does he do that like impresses you, Jeff?
I mean, Raffer's just all right. So he's grown so much from when he swapped from jungle to support, and I've been watching it ever since. He knows when to initiate, and he knows how to peel too, right? Like, which are two giant factors because you have to do both inside of most team fights, and I think he's just been getting better and better at it.
Something I love about Raffer, which I'm sure you feel as well, is as a support, you always have to be willing to go in for your team. I feel like he never plays scared. Like, even if he's behind, he'll always go in to try to set his team up.
Something that I love about Raffer as part of the broadcast team is that he's a lot of fun to talk to and always has something interesting to say. I got a chance to sit down with him earlier in the week. Let's take a look.
You know, we've had a rough split. We nearly didn't qualify for regionals. You know, it was on the edge of a sword. It's like one game, one team fight where we could have literally thrown, and I wouldn't be speaking here today if we'd thrown that fight. Our team fight would be a mess, you know, because you have maniaKK going in, and someone's like, save him, then he'll get out, then that person's low, and then someone will save him, then he's low, and then by that time we've not even had a team fight. 3 of us are poked out, and they're about to do fire giants. Like, not good. But I would say we've cleaned up. We've cleaned up. Us, Dig, Obey, they're like the 3 major teams where if they have a lead, probably done. You probably should start talking about the next game because we've perfected up to that moment. It's really, really rare that we're going to misplay after that because we have the lead, we have the items, and we're just proved, you know. But we have arguments, you know, it happens, but I feel like when we have them arguments, we know like something is really wrong, so we step up from that point. I would say our biggest issue is picks and bans. I say whichever gods we prioritize is not good. Like, shout outs to Kenneth's Kamazots. It's not my idea. It's not mine. I swear to God. I'm like, please, no Kamazots, no Kamazots. What god are you picking? You see Kamazots get highlighted. I'm like, I hate this. I hate this. I don't even know which god to pick once he picks Kamazots. So I got promised an announcer pack if I win, so it is very important to me.
Jeff, you've had a lot of opportunities to play against this NRG roster. They've met with you guys in the semifinals of Worlds the last 2 years. What is different to you from when they're on their game like they are the last 2 years Worlds to now, and how they've struggled so far?
Honestly, it just seems like they're playing a little bit less like a team than they would normally, right? But they're still playing like a team. It's not like, oh, wow, they're doing great, and then they're doing so poor. They're really not doing so poor right now, so I don't think it's a huge change.
Mike, you played against them at Worlds last year, too, as well, correct?
Yeah.
What do you see in that regard?
Well, it was a little different for us because at the time, ALG had been together for like 6 weeks, literally, and it was a team that had been together for 2 years, so just the teamwork that Jeff was talking about, like, it was just on such another level. I think that dropped a little bit this year. They didn't seem like they were as prepared, as practiced together. I think we're starting to see that come back now.
Boot camps is one of those things that, you know, every team wants to do, and it's like, yeah, I just got a boot camp for this land. But NRG has done it for a long time. I believe they did it last year for Super Regionals and Worlds. How important can just a week of practice together be before a land like this?
Insanely important because you are just practicing all day, every day. You're sitting there talking about what's right and what's wrong, and it just builds synergy and it just makes your team better.
And NRG looks like they're starting to turn the page a little bit, and this is going to be a big test for them. What does Dignitas need to do to get back to where they are being successful, Mike?
I want to see them just try to stomp them, like right out of the gates, like first 5 minutes, full aggro, invades, like don't put Zyrhoes on Thoth, please. and then just like try to run them down, and then just see if they can get an early lead and see if they can snowball it.
So there's two gods that no one wants to see in this game, right? And that's Thoth and Camazotz. Like that's kind of
I thought Noble
thing,
actually threw that last game by banning Camazotz away from adapting. If you ban the Thor and you make him pick Kama, I mean, all of a sudden like he's on Kama, Raffer's tilting, like that's perfect. That's what you want.
That did surprise me, and I think that might be an adjustment that teams want to make. I mean, that you sometimes just want to put players on a specific god that they know that they will pick because they're comfortable on it, but may not fit the team dynamic that the rest of the team wants.
I did lose to Camazotz this week, so I don't know.
Kama seems pretty good.
You have to keep adapting off Thor, right? That's one of those things. You can't give him Thor. He always performs on it.
emilitoo, the guy on your screen right now, is another one of those guys for NRG that kind of flies under the radar at times, but I don't think that's the case anymore. He won the World Championship last year. He was the MVP, and for my money has been the most consistent player on NRG during this season. What makes ML so good, Mike?
I think his mechanics, and I think also the way he plays the laning phase. I feel like he's very aggressive. He always tries to trade up. And isn't it kind of insane? Like, this entire team is so individually good that you're saying the world's MVP is flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Like, he's been playing great all year. It's crazy.
See, what the big thing with emilitoo to me is when he plays Kronos inside team fights, and then he just gets in, dumps out damage, and always gets his rewinds off. So he definitely has a good lane phase, like Mike said, and he is really good at bullying. But his team fight and his team fight positioning is just nuts.
I feel like that about his Hoi as well. I feel like we always see him like he'll kind of weave in and out, and then you always see him like jump on backline and find kills when the rest of the fight is chaotic. I don't know how. It's almost like he plays like an assassin.
We could sit here and talk about every single NRG player for what feels like forever, but it's up to Dignitas in my mind to try and reset and do a little bit better than they did yesterday. What went wrong for Dig against Rival, Jeff?
I really think for the most part it was just the pressure. I think it's the Thoth. I think it's a couple of picks that stem off that, and then when you don't have the mid pressure, even if you have a lead here, you don't have control of the middle of the map, right? So you can't really bleed in and ruin other parts of the map.
I think it was the pressure, and more specifically, the lack of proactiveness because of the pressure. Because they didn't have pressure, you weren't seeing them gank, you weren't seeing them make plays, force objectives, none of that.
I mean, Rival in game one in particular of that set literally just took whatever they wanted off the map, and Dignitas never really seemed to want to fight
For 15
them.
minutes, there wasn't a kill. I mean, when was the last time we ever saw a Dig game like that? Like, normally we're talking like pre-5-minute first blood, variety Qvo, like diving and stuff like that. It was completely off, like just not their type of playstyle.
Talking to some of the players around the arena today, a lot of players felt like Variety didn't have his best set. Is that just a one set sort of thing, or are you concerned with how he might perform today as well?
I think today is going to be good. Like I said when I was talking, everyone kind of realizes sometimes you have bad days, you have bad sets, and I don't think he played particularly great yesterday, but I think he'll be fine for today.
I also thought Rival put a lot of focus onto him. Yeah. We saw them top 2 Deathwalker's God, I think, almost every draft. So I think if that doesn't happen this set, that if Variety gets a good matchup, that he'll be himself.
Picks and bans ready for NRG and Dignitas, 2 EU powerhouses meeting in a one-game set here against one another, trying to determine who's going to be going to HRX. Still pretty early on. NRG or Dignitas could drop this game and still be in a fine spot in order to qualify, but it's important to get off to a good lead. Ratatosker was prioritized by Dignitas and Rival yesterday. It was the first ban for NRG up against Noble. Fafnir being that first ban today. Is Rat kind of one of those swing gods in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, he's just strong. He brings global pressure, he brings early pressure, and then he just kills backline all day. He just forces actives, and you can't do anything about it.
And something from the EU matchups is that Kalis was getting Fafnir for free. I think Dig in the third game actually took it away.
Yeah.
Raffer played it in his first game today. They go ahead and ban that, so they don't want to first pick it, and they're worried about Dig top 2ing it on the next side. Fafnir
definitely one of those big gods that we're starting to see emerge. And honestly, Fafnir's been around all season long and for a long time now, but one of those gods that really seems to be dictating picks and bans. For Kalas, as you mentioned, now between NRG and Dignitas. Trixtank has a great Fafnir, Raffer does as well, so a smart ban between those two. Ratatosker is banned away by NRG after that first round. Now we're waiting on Dignitas. I'm assuming that they could look at something for Zyrhoes, keep him off of the Soul, which he really, really likes, and would give him more pressure than the Thoth.
I really am looking for Souls and Morgans here, right? Like, those are going to be things that are just consistently strong, and they're just going to give you leads, and then you can just bully off of it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Also, I think that Dig has to think about this ban. Last game, NRG first pick Chulainn. I believe this is still on the table. The Artio was still open. They banned Osiris. I wonder if NRG just goes for Chulainn straight away.
Now, NRG and Dignitas can both play that soul, but it is going to be Chulainn. NRG does not try and take it away, and so now Zyrhoes has the option to go for it if he would like. Artio still on the table, and it will be selected very quickly here.
And
with
thank
the
God,
soul,
the soul, baby.
Everyone on the desk happy with Dignitas' picks and bans thus far. Artio, how is that matchup in the solo lane against Chulainn? Is that likely to go to Trix, or do you think it could be going to Variety?
I mean, it's definitely a flex pick, right? Like, it can work in both pretty well, but I think it's going to really depend on how NRG's drafting here, because there's a couple of picks I know me and you want to see here to immediately deal.
Yeah, of course. I think you kind of flex this a little bit. I think Hoi is an obvious lock-in for NRG here. I think that you maybe look towards Morrigan or Raijin here for Yammyn. That's exactly what they do. I think you leave this Artio flex. I'd like to see them pick a pick for Qvo. I think Arkkyl still has picks that he can get bottom 2. I'd like to see them get pressure for Qvo.
What sort of pressure god do you want to see with Ratatoskr off the table?
There's still Serket. There's still Ravana. Qvo's been very good at. He used to play Kama a lot. I'm not sure if he's looking towards that. Just something that he can be proactive with. Something that he can fight with Zyrhoes on the soul.
Well, it's going to be Sylvanus, so that flex opportunity kind of taken off the board by Dignitas. They're showing their hand that Artio is going to solo.
Well, I think that's fine too now, because you have the next pick, so you can take a jungler that adapting might also want, and now you can also look to ban him or ban Raffer. Trix played pretty well with the Sylvanus yesterday. I mean, they got up, what was it, like 10K at 20 minutes, 25 minutes, so he was performing well on it. Now that they have more pressure from mid, I think he's able to snowball with that pick more.
Something else I also really do like about the Sylv pick is now you have Sylv and Artio. You basically have to build anti-heal, and there's a lot of weird spot healing that you can't really control when Artio's just
even the
going
soul
nuts.
sustain, right? Like in fight with her 1 and just lifesteal if he decides to go to Bancrofts or Brook of the Dead or whatever. All that in combat healing, I think they definitely need to build anti-heal. You don't necessarily want Divine Ruin on Raijin. So you ban out Serket, obvious, and then you ban out Thor, so you don't have that Brawlers type of thing.
Camazot's still on the table for NRG or Dignitas if either of them wanted. NRG looking at Arkkyl with that ROM ban. He played that ROM very, very well yesterday, but wasn't able to close the deal in order to get that Game 2 victory for Dignitas. NRG waiting on their final ban. Could be at Arkkyl or into the jungle for Qvofred. Is there one jungler you want to make sure Fred doesn't get here? I liked the Robin selection.
I was almost thinking, I wonder if he pulls a Cherio and goes Artio jungle. I don't know what Qvo's been practicing, but there's still like decent soul laners open. Variety loves Erlang, for example. Maybe they go that and they just try to take an early fight. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. I think Ravana is still open. That's probably the obvious one.
I definitely think, Ravana is going to work great with their comp. I mean, they're already so hard to take down, including their mid laner, who's soul. I mean, you can't really just run.
And it's one of the few junglers that doesn't have to worry about getting turned on by Hoi, right? Like you can 2 out of the stun, then you can chase his jump with your ultimate. So a lot of dive potential with that.
Mask had a great showing on that Robin on Wednesday up against Space Station in your Game 5, Jeff. So no surprise that you would like to see a Robin here. Ullr was the second ban for NRG in the second banning phase, a god that is starting to rise up the ranks a little bit and has one of those matchups against Hu Yi where you just play aggressive. There aren't many gods that can take the 1v1 against Hu Yi, but Ullr is one of them.
I like the Ullr ban a lot, right? Because depending on their starts, right? If Sylv does start with them, Ullr Sylv's pretty hard to contest, even if you're a mage and a hunter, right? They can go pretty even with it, so I love it.
Well, also, if they happen to go back to the online meta where both of the mage and ADC are in mid and they match that 2v2, the Ullr Soul, I think, would have a much better fight than the Hoi Raijin because you have that stun at level 1, you have more damage with Soul passive, so I think avoiding that is really good.
Ooh, Hachiman, the selection, though, for Arkkyl.
That's
Barracuda.
A little interesting to me because I feel like with NRG already having their Hunter and then an obvious mid laner, they could have last picked their ADC. Now Adapting gets priority pick on his jungler, so they lost that for free, basically.
That is true, but it also could be Qvo wanting to just pick, like, counter pick, right?
Right.
But, I mean, that has to
it
be
could be that.
is.
I mean, for all we know, maybe they look at the Artio jungle as well. I think Cabrakan most likely for Adapting, something we haven't really seen him play in a while. It's a tankier style, matches that Thor that I was saying last game, basically built full tank.
Do you think that it's going to be Cabrakan jungle, or do you think that Cabrakan will go over to maniaKK and that Adapting will take the Chulainn?
I could see it going either way. It just depends on what type of style they want. I feel like the Cabrakan makes a little more sense in the jungle. You have a higher chance to pick off that Sylv in the jungle.
I actually think Cabrakan's a really great pick here. He deals well with Sylv, deals well with Artio, and honestly deals well with Hachi as well, because Hachi has to dash. And like, Cap's a great pick here.
Naja, the final pick for Dignitas. You wanted pressure for Dig, and Naja certainly fits that bill, though not a lot of follow-up off of that Wind Fire Wheels ultimate. Do you think that was the best selection here?
I think it's fine just to push them back. The ring bounces in the fights, being able to get people pushed back. You can dive with the Artio, make room for the soul. I think it'll be fine.
Dignitas
also, their
versus
objective
NRG.
burn's nuts.
That's true. Plenty of objective burn with that Heavenly Banner from Hachiman. Guys, who you got?
I have Dig.
I like Dig's draft here as well.
NRG might not go 2-0. We've got the
So
caster
broke.
standing by. It's F. and it's Hindu Man. Take it away.
Thanks a lot, guys. Standing by, as Ryan said, Tom Badinger joined here by Graham Hadfield. Two fantastic teams going at it. NRG, the defending world champions. Dignitas, my opinion, the best team in the world coming here.
Sure.
But on LAN, much different story.
Who would have thought we would have seen these two teams in the wildcards? Like, one of them was guaranteed, but not at the start of this split. We were expecting that at all. We would have expected NRG Dig, possibly 1 and 2. Maybe one of them slipped down, but not both.
Yeah, very, very odd to find both of these teams down here. And, you know, it's very interesting. I figured we'd see Rival here. This was, you know, we sort of make the mock schedule. Rival was on my mock schedule.
Yeah.
Not Team Dignitas, but Dignitas got here very, very definitively. Game number 1, Team Dignitas versus NRG. Keep in mind, this is a single game series. All teams will be playing against each other throughout the weekend. Those who wind up with the best records amongst their peers wind up punching their ticket to HRX.
Now, the calling point on the desk there was about to do with whether it's going to be Cabrakan or Chulainn in the jungle here. I'm favoring the Chulainn here a little bit more. I do like the idea behind it, especially because of the rage mechanic. The fact that the rage mechanic can turn you into the monster, you can time it from the jungle a little bit better. You can ramp up to that for the gank time. Have your rage just to that point of like, as soon as I engage this, pop my ult, transform, pop my ult again, go all in. There's a potential of that with this rage in the jungle that you wouldn't have got as much from the solo lane.
For me, it's a little bit simpler. I just really like maniaK's ability to play this Cabrakan. I think he's shown during the regular season and even beyond, you know, going into like last year and such, that he's just a really dope Cabrakan player. Adapting, sure, I'm sure he can pilot it, one of the greater players in the world, but at the end of the day, give it to maniaK. I like him on the pick.
The biggest thing that I'm going to see here as this
nice
goes
shot.
on is how the solo lane matchup works out, and not because of just the solo lanes, because of the junglers too. Both of them have actually shown previously, Tom, that they're going to look to pressure the solo lane early on.
Right.
Very Season 2-esque of Weekend Cyclone, if you remember those days. Focus on the solo lane early, let everybody else on the other side of the map continue the focus there. Both these junglers like the right-hand side as it stands.
You know, it's interesting. I think maniaKk is going to have a really big impact offensively. Artio can really bring a lot of sustain, and the stun is really what you're looking at as far as what this Guardian can provide. Whereas for maniaKk, I think he provides a lot more control than just Variety can. emilitoo getting aggressive here. I don't really think there's any kill potential.
No
but
real change, though. emilitoo did that in Game 1 against Noble. He's happy to go aggressive. He died for first blood, if you remember. Go looking for aggression. Did trade out.
root.
This time, though, it's going to cost him his beats.
Yeah, he's totally fine there unless the root hits, so he gets out of there no problem.
Arkkyl.
So far, Arkkyl.
Yeah, it was a little bit deep. I was a little bit worried, but he did steal away the red buff by the looks of it there. So, good news. More than anything else, managed to nip in the jungle, steal it away before anything could happen.
That ring bound's a really big deal, and you know I like seeing Naja come out. I think the character has a lot of application. Right now, getting into some trouble thanks to that early Cabrakan slam.
I mean, the Des themselves, obviously, the two support players talk about the ring toss being very useful here. I actually think the Sash is more impactful here. Obviously, Ganesha kind of stands still or gets limited movement when he's using that own, that silence. You can sash him out of that. The same with Cabrakan Tremors.
Yep.
So in the team fights, it's an easy way to actually cancel that out and potentially piggyback off that into an ult elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really like the fact that the Sash is going to be able to interrupt support. It's going to be able to interrupt what Yammyn wants to do. You're going to be able to interrupt the Tremors coming out of maniaKk. Just a lot of interrupt abilities coming out from the Naja. Also, the ability to take somebody out of the game. Cabrakan is a character that's going to provide a lot of control with what he wants to do. The Naja, whether he's looking for the kill or not, can take Cabrakan to the sky. The team on the ground can do the class work and deal with the rest of the team without control man, and that's going to offer a lot of options.
Now, going back as well to what Adaption's playing this Chulainn in the jungle here, the other thing that we've not talked about just yet, the healing on the side of Dignitas here. They do have the Artio as well as the Sylvanus. Chulainn has 40% anti-heal. Like, it's pretty useful with those spears just consistently going out, meaning that will shut some of it down. Keep an eye on the Artio in the solo lane here. They're going to have to be a little bit careful for Variety early on because he won't have the same sustain he'll be expecting as this game goes on, especially if we see Chulainn focus him.
That's the key for me is the anti-heal against the Artio, because Artio's whole strength is the fact that she's going to be in the middle of a fight,
staying in the fight
forever, right? That's her whole thing. I mentioned the PBAOE stun is really impactful, and the cripple field, sure, but really her whole thing is just sustained damage. She's hurting you a little bit for a long time. If you're able to just take care of her and stop that healing, the sustain isn't there, Graham, and it's almost, I'm not going to say a wasted pick, but
right.
it's not my favorite.
I feel you, because the main reason is that as an Artio, what you're going to do is go in the fight and you're using your tankiness, how tanky you can be in these engagements, along with the healing to stay in the fight. One of those two things gets shredded, you're not going to be in the fight very long.
Is he going for it?
I don't know. He was thinking about it. I'm like,
he was really thinking about it.
Have a root. Have a little dig.
Yeah, he was.
Get it? Have a little dig.
Oh, I see it.
I'm good at this.
You're okay at this.
Well, Arkkyl yesterday, a few people noticed Arkkyl yesterday saying he didn't have the best of games. I don't think it was necessarily him personally that had a bad game, but he was focused, and that's kind of what can happen in some of these games when you are known as a dangerous carry.
Yeah, I mean, Arkkyl also, speaking to him on the sideline, said he wasn't really feeling number one. No, not exactly Barracuda level, because he was actually out here playing, but I spoke to him this morning.
Well, he also didn't eat McDonald's.
That's fair.
It would have been McDonald's.
Or as his coach would say, Macca's. But either way, I spoke to him today right before they got on the field, and he was sitting there, and he was like, I'm feeling a little better, still not 100%, but, able to actually bring it out. So he's excited to be able to sort of prove people, because, I always bring up the fact the 4 superstars at Arkkyl. And really for me, especially in the latter part of this fall split, Arkkyl and the 4 superstars. He's been the guy.
For me, he's equivalent. He is on the same level as that team, and he should be.
Yes.
He's very much significant, the same as like NRG is as well. NRG are all superstars in their own right, but together they make energy. Same can be said for Arkkyl and Dig. They are all on the same level. It may not feel it because you've seen most of Dig around the scene a little bit longer, on the bigger stage a little bit more. But Arkkyl I think he's earned his credentials.
I feel like even to the casual fan, I think in the springtime you say, hey, it's 4 superstars and that Sanguine guy. In the summertime, you go, hey, it's 4 superstars and Arkyl's looking pretty clean. And then in the fall split, you go, it's 5 superstars. Arkkyl has absolutely proved himself for my money. And, man, it's a lot of fun to watch when he's on his game.
Definitely.
Yesterday was a little bit of a disappointment, simply because I know he's capable of so much more.
To be fair, it wasn't just Arkkyl. The whole team wasn't really on their game. The communication seemed to be there, but the actual execution was off.
It was mainly, and I want to see if you agree, it was mainly Variety for me. Variety seemed like on a different page.
He was quiet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with him. Like, normally, we expect him to step up at lands, and I don't know. The one thing about Variety that's gone through the years is Variety's always been an underdog. He's been one of the weakest, and now that he's had his moment in the spotlight where people are like, he's good, he's one of the best, now he slipped again. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he slipped a little bit. Is it overconfidence because he knows he's that good now? Is that what's happened? Like, who knows?
Yeah, I always get very careful when I'm trying to, pretend like I'm inside a player's head. But complacency is the word that would come to mind. Where
Can happen.
Variety grinded so hard, and I will never discount the amount of effort he put in, because if you look at VODs from Season 2, I called him the worst player in the league.
If we go back to Season 1, if anyone remembers NQ on the Anubis versus Variety's Raw, that'll tell you how far he's come.
Yeah.
From being solo 3 times in 3 minutes, and then like 2 minutes in 3 bases. So, people do adapt, people do grow, and we'll see how this one works. I'm just surprised that Game 2 of the Wildcard setup is NRG versus Dig, and this is a big game for both. Like, yes,
it's huge.
NRG put Noble to bed today, for the time being, and Noble may bounce back, but that's one under the belt that NRG expected. The winner of this is the real telltale sign of if one of these 2 teams are going to make it out. If this is close the whole way, you could be looking at both of them still make it.
For sure.
It's a real telltale sign.
Yeah, it's this is also, the bonus card that you get to see. Oh, Raffer pulled into the knockup. 2 other players are going to surround him, take it to the sky. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot. The mid lane waiting on the bottom. It's Trixtank with the last hit. Team Dignitas first on the board, first blood.
And I was talking about Dignitas yesterday. Didn't seem to be on the same page in terms of the mechanics. They did have the same shot calling, but they didn't synergize well. Today, that was perfect synergy between the trio in the mid lane. Straight pull, into ult, into follow-up, into ult, into a third ult. Cost them all 3, but you get that early kill. You slow Raffer down a little bit, and also make sure his energy start to respect you even more.
Listen, it's 3 minutes into the game. I have no problem if you use 3, 4, If you use 5 ults trying to find first blood, I really don't care as long in that scenario because it's a 3-on-1, right? There's no secondary fight. There's no objective after the fact.
Well, they get that, but what you're going to see now is NRG are going to abuse the fact that they did use 3 ultimates there by invading the speed buff. And to be fair to Dignitas, they recognize this themselves, so they don't really contest that much. They just have to relinquish their speed. They traded their speed buff in essence for that first blood.
They're still going to chase with Zyrhoes wrapping around the back end.
They might look for the other speed is what they may do. Yeah. Obviously, with ring toss from Qvofred, it can set some stuff up, and Zyrhoes wants to pressure.
Oh, the nice dodge coming out from the jungler. Ultimate already in for Yammyn, and Qvofred brought down to about half HP.
Ring to
NRG adapting. Nice pull by the support. Hot damn.
Good pull from Trixtank. Now it's just to make sure that his boy Qvo got away. Yep. Adapting does not want to give that up, though. And Adapting will catch him. Qvofred, end of the day, had to run away. Speed buff, obviously, was on Adapting there, and he realized that he could still get in range and find that return kill.
Qvofred did not know he was still being chased. Right now, no chase for Zyrhoes, just stuck in between the wall.
And the big thing about that is the first kill, like we said, 3 ultimates used for it. NRG invade the speed. Dignitas not happy about it. Think they can contest the speed of NRG, but by doing that, they overextend. They can't really fight a team with all their ultimates available when you don't, and that's what ended up happening and why NRG now have a lead. But the best news is Adapt King seems to be here.
I mean, I still don't like Qvofred without the ultimate. If you're invading in the jungle, the Naja ultimate short, the ring toss and the sash with the possibility of a crit is just as scary as being Naja ulted.
Sure, but you're losing a lot of CC potential and escapability. Like, not having Naja without the ultimate, you're using ring toss, sure.
Yeah.
But how are you going to get away from Yammyn's Drums of War? How are you going to get away from Raffer's pillars that are going to come down? And on top of that, Adapting's going to switch forms and run you down like a dog.
That's what Sash is for.
What, Sash on the camps?
No.
Got him! Just this time. Unfortunately, Trixtank didn't get Yammyn there. But that would have been a nice little play there. So now it's 2-1. Obviously, Dignitas still have the lead. That's mainly down to the first blood and the initial farming. But NRG will feel quite confident after how the last engagement went, especially because Dignitas kind of gave him that one.
Also, not for nothing, keep an eye on the Hunters. We've been talking about everybody but. That's for good reason. They ain't really doing much of anything except for farming. And that's really the key here. Arkkyl level 9. And you can see a couple of waves away from hitting level 10. And that's when he's really going to start swinging. This is a scary pick.
Yeah, and the ban is very, very useful for wave clear. The one thing that I'm noticing the difference is obviously is full boots versus full Devourer's gauntlets is the big difference between these two. Arkkyl wants the extra mobility to get away more often than not, but not just to get away, but potentially engage. Obviously, he has that ultimate where he can mount up with the mounted archery and run people down. So having that extra mobility early on does allow him to get in range a little bit quicker and not have to rely on his Ijutsu to engage, which is kind of slow.
Yeah, usually I don't know. Usually I'm always a proponent of the stacking item first. I really don't think that adapting on the Chulainn is any more... I don't think he's any quicker than any other jungler, so I'm very interested to see why he goes for the boots first.
Could be down to just rotations. Maybe it's a bit of focus from Dignitas saying, listen, Arkkyl, we are going to leave you alone all game for the majority of the time, which means if you get ganked, you're not going to get much support for a while. Going for the boots option means that you've got a little bit more survivability in terms of escape, rather than sustaining it and like getting those stacks online.
Arkkyl did start on the left side. emilitoo started in the mid lane, so he did have that going for him. Just basically... fighting against Raffer in the lane, not a big deal for a Hunter. So a little bit of a lead here for Arkkyl above emilitoo.
Pace has been exactly as I expected, sort of a bit of burst of action early on, and the burst will come around the speed buffs. It used to be back in the old days, like around the mid-harpies. It's definitely around the speeds.
Getting the heal, now he's in trouble, dashing onto the tower, adapting maniaKK. Think about going for the dive, but Trixtank shows up and discourages them very quickly.
Hard to kind of pin down this Artio with a Chulainn and a Cabrakan. Obviously, the walls will help in the tremors too, but she can still dash away with the bear form. Even if he switches it into bear form as this Artio as well, he can use that stun to cancel out the tremors to just give him a window to escape.
I actually think Cabrakan is a really good matchup. I think that maniaKK just didn't nail the perfect ultimate.
It's solid for like stunning out some of the clear that they're going to have with that life tap ability, because obviously that's a channeled ability to help clear the wave. But at this stage of the game, it's just like most of the Guardians. Once you hit level 9 or 10, a little bit tricky to try and bring them down.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely hard to kill is Artio's kind of whole jam. So got to watch out for that one just a little bit. Oracle's going to Team Dignitas. Good vision for them on the around the Gold Fury.
Yeah, Devour's goal is now inside for Arkkyl as well, so he's got a bit of a lead over emilitoo right now. Obviously, emilitoo hasn't backed for a little while. You can see their gold difference is actually just 400 between the two, but that means Arkyl's off to a good start here. A little bit of a lead too.
Big difference for Team Dignitas today versus yesterday, where they collected their 3 straight losses. Offensive ward vision. Didn't see a lot of that in the games versus Rival. Here, right away, you can see 2 wards on the Hunter side of the map. None so on the right side of the map. We'll get there a little bit later, but for now, a ton of aggressive vision by way of the Gold Fury
Well,
side.
I do know as well, like North America kind of just had scrim partners where they'd scrim one of a team. Europe's a completely different story. All these teams would have scrimmed each other quite a bit outside of the ones playing each other on day 2.
Right.
Which was, for example, Rival and Dignitas would never have scrimmed. But I guarantee you, Dig and NRG would have had scrims expecting not to have to meet in the wildcards here. So they would have ideas about what comps they're going to be running, what situations, and how to deal with each other's squads, because they've been around against each other for a long time.
I mean, that's the true meta game. Like, we use it to... maniaKK in a little bit of trouble here. Variety going
Not kill
for
potential,
it.
I don't think.
No.
No kill potential. I mean, Variety did have to go too deep there. He didn't really have vision on where the jungler was, Chulainn. If he goes too deep in that scenario there, dives to tower, he may have got the kill, but risk versus reward, and that's one thing I think Variety was just thinking about before he dove in there.
Yeah, I think Variety winds up with the kill if he goes hard, but he doesn't know where anybody else is, so playing a little bit safe.
Trapping mid lane here. Bad news is the ward just giving away a bit of vision there. I think that ward might have caught the back coming out there from Qvofred. Was it Qvofred? Sorry, from Chulainn adapting. So I think they realized there was going to be no real pressure here. Speed buff for Dignitas is safe this time round. No engagement from NRG, obviously because the ultimate's available.
This time around.
This time. That's okay.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that speed buff. Yammyn on the Raijin, Raffer on the Ganesha here in the middle lane, taking the 2v3. Well, rather just playing it safe so they don't have to take the 2v3. Team Dignitas goes back into the jungle. And
early Gold Fury attempt from Dignitas here, looking for a response. Chulainn on the wrong side of the map did get spotted by a ward there then adapting, but he's on his way. The reset happens. Great pull.
And the sun's come down. Raffer going to be knocked up. Avoids it, but the dash gets interrupted. Ring toss and Arkkyl confirm the kill. Team Dignitas wind up tying it up. Adapting still here, looking for the ricochet as emilitoo won't find it.
His rage.
The chase is halfway there, not full commit, but all the way from solo lane, maniaKK comes and traps in Variety.
Zyrhoes are going away to safety. Trixtank now being pressured out by adapting, and that's NRG getting angry more often than not. I don't know why Qvo's over there. It's a little bit risky.
Shot.
And that ricochet will definitely send him back to base. It's a 1-for-0 pick, and that was all Trixtank, which is a good thing to hear for a lot of fans, because a lot of people felt like Trixtank was slightly off yesterday.
Yeah, Raffer, I think Raffer in their first game versus Noble was one of the better games that he's played in a long time. Him and maniaKK kind of just popped off and carried that game real hard. Coming into game number 2 here, Raffer positioning, I think, a little bit over-aggressive. Most importantly, I think he gets away with that if his dash doesn't get interrupted. But a strong knockup from Trixtank stops him in his tracks.
And going back to game 1, we saw NRG take on Noble. You saw the pressure adapting put on the solo lane to help out maniaKK and give him that nice little lead early on. Well, this game, obviously, as we mentioned, Dignitas probably scrimmed NRG quite a bit. And what was the response there to seeing this pressure coming out again from adapting? Attempt to Gold Fury, force a 4v3 fight on the left-hand side, and then either get the Gold Fury or a pick.
Sure.
They find the pick, Dignitas get a very small win and get away before NRG can return the favor.
Yeah, Arkkyl did a good job there, just using his long range to his advantage. Now, building up those stacks, 58 already, so the whole conversation you have about, should the stacks come first or should the boots come first, all of it doesn't matter anymore pretty much by the time you reach the mid game.
In the old days, it would have mattered if the Gold Fury was still worth as much gold as it used to be, because getting those Devourer stacks earlier meant you could solo a Gold Fury early on as a hunter. At the stage of the game where you get the stacks now, you're not even going to be looking for a Gold Fury on your own. And if you are, it's not going to be worthwhile for you to do it, because potentially it could get stolen away anyway for all the tanking you're going to do. So half of one, 6 of the other. I can't even say the words now. Half of one, half a dozen of the other. There we go.
Six
of one, half a dozen of the other.
Oh my,
one hand.
82,007. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the same, right?
It's only numbers.
maniaKK with the ground pound, doing a little bit of variety, but the ping's coming out.
Adapting's
Adapting's deep by himself. And the
He is
Dignitas
Chulainn
are
now.
well aware. Big knockup, 1v2, Adapting, trying to take the fight, going aggressive actually, and chasing Team Dignitas even further. Adapting's got friends.
One of the benefits about playing this Chulainn is that when you rage out, people have to be aware that you're going to turn, have all your abilities up again, potentially be able to follow up. He wasn't scared. He is a warrior. And now Qvo's in trouble.
Wall. It's going to go ahead and set up Qvofred. Bring Adapting to the sky, right to the ground, and nobody there to answer, however. Variety trying to control with that cripple
and
field. Yammyn dashing away. Adapting needs to do the same. Raffer on the run as well, but everybody looking at the drummer, and that's the last solo he'll be doing.
Oh, the horsey was coming in for Adapting too, but Arkkyl just couldn't get in range. And emilitoo makes a rotation. He can't make a huge play on his own, get some good damage off an Arkkyl. maniaKK, though, still looking to make sure they don't get this pole demon.
Yeah, Team Dignitas want to get the consolation prize, but NRG Esports totally here, ready for the fight. Raffer half HP, but his teammates are right next to him, trying to take down the solo lane. Adapting swords are over and done with. Raffer is going to be taken care of. Variety with the last hit. That looks like to be enough for NRG, but maniaKK still wants to go in.
I don't think Dignitas will stop this. With the two healers taking into account Sylvanus and Artio, they can resustain this, so maniaKK's got to try and stop them on his own.
And he's here by himself, causes the leash. maniaKK in trouble. Nice ricochet coming out from emilitoo, but it's 2 versus the world. Adapting on the outside of the fight, just watching. As Arkkyl picks it up, here comes Adapting. 1 by 1 like lambs to the slaughter, but they think they have a chance, and man, they're being baited by the low HP targets.
It's like lemmings, 1 by 1 they go in, and it's not an arc they're going to the grave more than anything else. Dignitas,
but they accomplish it. They accomplish the goal.
They accomplish nothing.
They accomplish nothing, you are correct.
Literally nothing.
But what does Dignitas accomplish?
Multiple free kills for nothing, and now looking for a pick on Yammyn, who's now having to use his ult defensively. And emilitoo comes forward to help, and it eats a whole ult from Trix. One more hit. Arkkyl, can he find it? No. Oh, Arkkyl overextended, though. Okay, now they accomplished something. That was the only thing they accomplished.
NRG, here's the thing, though. NRG accomplishing nothing was totally fine, because what they accomplished was a defensive stop. Team Dignitas could not get the Portal Demon either. So NRG traded 2 lives for the Portal Demon, and which point those 2 lives were not worth that much gold. Take a look at the graphs. Dignitas get themselves up to a 1,500 gold lead. NRG have been behind that 8 ball many times before. The bite back that Yammyn's able to taunt a player into the tower, that's just icing on the cake.
This could be big for NRG here if they can take this. Only Trixtank in the area, no ultimate available for him. Nobody else is responding. Dignitas, after all the engagements around this Portal Demon, I love the little sapling that came out from Tricks, like maybe, just maybe, the sapling can do it, but no. NRG, come on, what's up?
That one hurts.
That one does.
I think if you're Team Dignitas and you lose that battle around the Portal Demon and you get your 2 kills, you're like, look, the 2 kills don't really mean much, but at least we smacked him in the mouth. Good for us. Then Arkkyl dies and you go, man, you shouldn't have done that, but I'm still feeling okay. And then the Portal Demon goes down, and that's when Zyrhoes just yells at you in Swedish.
But at the same time, I mean, they're still in the lead here, Dignitas. It's not all doom and gloom for them right now. They still hold the lead in the game. Yeah, I mean, gold-wise.
500.
Kill-wise. Experience-wise.
The experience you're starting a conversation.
There's 3 things there, Tom, that technically tell you Dig are in the lead. Not by much, and I'm not saying it's
the hunter's up, the support's down. It all even as far as the experience is concerned.
I'd rather be a hunter up there. Support could be 2 levels down, and it's still ahead.
That's fair.
Like, supports don't matter that much. Everybody else definitely does.
Artio just hit level 15.
Thank you. Go.
Just hit it.
See?
Doesn't count.
See?
Doesn't count.
This is a great game, though, between these 2 already. I want to go back to the original team fight, actually, that started that off, which was Adapting getting caught at the back harpies. That's where that whole thing began. And it was actually the ring toss out of Qvofred. NRG escaped nicely, but the ring toss followed the escapees, and they all got caught.
This one matters.
In trouble.
Half damage on Gold Fury. Gonna be leashed. Team Dignitas still around and local. NRG Esports trying to find the positioning, and it's enough to make Team Dignitas think twice.
Yeah, it was more about the rotation for Variety early on to see what maniaKK was going to do. As soon as maniaKK showed his presence in the mid lane there on that Cabrakan, Dignitas realized they could have got flanked round this back of themselves as well, and you don't really want to do that against NRG's composition in terms of team fights. Both of them are strong at team fights, but Dignitas have shown they like to skirmish a little bit more with what they've got.
Arkkyl starting the Gold Fury here, going to go ahead and leash it as NRG show their face one more time.
One thing we've not really spoken about is that Hachiman banner as well. Take into account that increases attack speed of your team too. So not only will Arkkyl be attacking a little bit quicker, but so will Qvofred and Zyrhoes, which are 2 characters that do enjoy the old auto attacks that can come into play.
50% Gold Fury. Team Dignitas have control. Keep an eye on the flank coming out from emilitoo. There's the leash. Meanwhile,
Arkyl's
emilitoo
dead.
looking for Arkkyl. He gets him and adapting with the last hit. emilitoo over the top, runs away from Variety. Everybody coalescing on Trixtank, and he's down to the ground. The double kill for adapting. Not done just yet. Looking for the tier 1 tower dive. Will back off. maniaKK with aggressive positioning, trying to zone out. Why?
Raffer. It was all Raffer. Not bad about anybody else in that fight. Raffer was the one that came up big. The ultimate to reset it, but then the silence made sure that Arkkyl couldn't do anything at all apart from just eat the free damage that was raining down. Trix comes in to help out, trying to save his hunter. He goes down too. NRG get a gold fury out of it, and now the oracles, and now pressure on tier 1 in mid.
Tier 1 tower is going to go down as well. Raffer's going to be able to tank this, no problem.
Well,
Where's the hunter, though? emilitoo, go attack the mid lane tower.
No, they'll still be able to get it without him, though, but I think he should have really gone for that tower. The minions will be good enough to bring
now
it
that the
down.
minions showed up, that's fine.
He'll be okay. He heads back to his own jungle to make sure he doesn't lose the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. But yeah, great play from Raffer there. Really, really good work from him. A lot of the supports go undervalued, but that was pretty much all him in that engagement.
Yeah, I mean, Raffer, game 1 against Noble was some of the best Smite we've seen Raffer play in a while, and here he is just continuing the trend. NRG always seem to go back to the default of leaning on adapting and Raffer when they get into trouble. And, you know, it's funny. I see Raffer and Emil doing it this time around.
Well, one thing as well to mention is something that Polar Bear Mike said on the desk is about maniaKK. I mean, he mentioned it's true. They only had maniaKK for a month and a half going into the fall split. They had him for a month and a half. Now, after the break, they've had an additional month with maniaKK to work on some synergies with the team. And it's specifically the differences that he brings to Dimmy. The team working out what he's going to do that Dimmy wouldn't and what he's going to do that Dimmy did. You know what I mean? You've got to make sure you find that balance of, okay, well, if he's not going to go to the back line the way Dimmy did, what is he going to do differently? Which means how do we adapt to it and make sure it works in our favor in these team fights? Yeah,
maniaKK tends to bring the aggression, right?
Sure.
Pure aggression. Dimmy, a little bit more calculated, which, you know, it's interesting. I think you can say that Dimmy's play style, his cautious play style, is perhaps better more often. But when maniaKK goes off and plays well, I think he's taller than Dimmy ever could stand.
I think the big difference is I think maniaKK's a little bit less calculated than what Dimmy is. Dimmy's like, okay, I am definitely not going to die by going into this fight.
Sure.
100%. And that's why I was known as the Undying for a while. But I'll still do the impact that you want. Difference is maniaKK's like, I may die here, but let's give it a go. And that really can be a big difference between a playstyle versus another when you're not sure if the teammate that's going in is going to survive.
And you know what? No disrespect to Dimmy, but at the same time, I want my solo laner to be a little bit reckless.
You want half your well, when I say half your team, I think you want your hunter to be a little bit reckless now and again too, because you've seen how good they can be.
I'd like my hunter and mage to play it a little bit safer than my solo lane.
I like Zyrhoes to be safe. Like I like my mid lane to be safe. Talking
right
about
now,
mid lane being
he's
safe.
A little bit of trouble. Adapting, top player damage this game so far, has been poking out the mid lane quite a bit.
That was Aegis and Disapparate used there by Zyrhoes. So he's got to watch his positioning for a few moments until that Disapparate comes back up and realize that if he gets engaged on again, he's going to lose half his health, especially if Yammyn's around with that Raijin, which is the main ability that we've seen so much poke damage come out from.
Portal Demon up one more time. Team Dignitas have the footing. emilitoo.
This is a big fight, this one.
On the back end, trying to come back up. Here comes the ring toss.
Focus
That's going to soften everybody up. There's the ultimate coming out from the support. But again, focus on who? Focus on Trix. He's just barely going to get out of there. And everybody else focusing on Variety.
Variety is dealing with Yammyn in the back, but now Variety needs some help. Ring toss from Qvofred comes in, misses the ult to emilitoo. emilitoo pre-beats that as well and will escape, but the first kill goes the way of energy. Qvofred now in trouble too.
Oh, he's barely going to be alive, scraping out. maniaKK can wrap around, but he's all eyes on Zyrhoes, the only full HP player here. And everybody from NRG have to back off. Team Dignitas win this team fight. And they get the Portal Demon as a prize.
maniaKK, they're going right around the back. He can only really find Qvofred or Trix here, but they know where he is. He's going to slow them down for a moment, force a reset, and now you're going to see Raffer still hanging around and adapting.
Portal Demon leashed again. Quarter HP. Team Dignitas don't want to let this go. maniaKK has to get in. He's too late. The jump in is way too late.
They're going to win the fight.
Team Dignitas pick it up. Arkkyl gets one kill so far. emilitoo's here. He's going to trade out and pick up Qvofred as well. The hunters on both sides doing work. That Aegis is gone. The jump is strong. Couple of basics will do it. And there's maniaKK providing help. 2 kills for the guys on NRG.
Arkkyl needed help, but it came too late, and that means Zyrhoes is now in trouble. Has to run away too. Yes, Portal Demon goes to dig, and Variety's back!
And there's a point-blank AoE stun. He's gonna get himself stunned as well. emilitoo down half HP. Aegis is over. Jumps over the ultimate from Trixtank. What a play! What a player! Yammyn with the exclamation point on the team fight. Trixtank gets juked and booted. Variety nowhere to go. He's gonna fall down as well. emilitoo picks up his second kill of the contest. 10 in total for NRG Esports, and they're looking at the big boy.
Being brutally honest there as well. emilitoo's leap actually he came back through. Did he just come back through?
He walked through the portal.
Run, Qvo, run! Terrible decision from Qvofred. They're giving a free kill to NRG. That will guarantee him the fire giant now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my, you just don't do that. You just don't do that.
It was too early. I guess he was trying to rush back through looking for a play. Zyrhoes comes in, but Fire Giant's too healthy. Zyrhoes just trying to commit for it because he knows he can't do anything else. And in the end, he'll fall down too. And it's the same dig we saw yesterday.
Oh my goodness. Team Dignitas. I can think of another D word for Dignitas right now.
Dunces.
Okay. I was going to go with desperate.
Oh.
A lot of those plays looked like desperation plays.
So the Zyrhoes play at the end there, that definitely was a desperation play, but I like the idea.
The Qvo was a desperation play.
Qvo came in, and I think he came in just too early. I think he was just trying to use the portal at the last moment to get back to this fight, but no one was low enough. I think he expected more people to be low in that engagement, and he wasn't. He missed the ultimate too as soon as he came through, I believe, and that just put him at a disadvantage straight away where there's no escaping what NRG had waiting for him.
I don't think he missed the ult. I think he was just trying to get the hell out of dodge, man. I think he was using it as an escape. Qvofred backs up without looking in the rearview mirror and just walks into the entirety of an angry NRG Esports. 25 minutes in here, folks. We've got 19 kills. 12 of them belong to NRG.
Yep.
And they're going to pick up the Gold Fury and increase their lead to about 5,000 gold.
The action's been so fast that we've not had a chance to really break down any of the sort of fights that we saw, honestly, overall. But when you look back to what happened around the Portal Demon, they invested so much energy onto Trix as the Zyrhoes is going to fall here for free. They invested so much into Trixtank, and Trixtank lived. That's why Dignitas won the fight. Instead of resetting there and focusing the targets maybe, they started to pull the Portal Demon, and NRG played it so well of waiting, and forcing Dig to get lower and lower until they just slowly picked him apart because the respawns came through.
And NRG sieging up this left side lane. The jump from emilitoo over Trixtank's ultimate, that's a cold read.
For me, it was actually his leap came up just then. I think his leap came because he would have leapt earlier, I think, with the pressure he had on him, but he had no choice because it wasn't available.
Sun's going to be dropped on the left side of zone. Trixtank relatively low. Adapting, not letting him go home. There's the kick. emilitoo gets the kill off of the assist from the jungler. Healthy Phoenix so far. Team Dignitas trying to turn things around by way of damage. maniaKK tanking for a little bit too long, and NRG going to be pushed off the Phoenix, but they do get a kill.
So it is classic defense now from Dignitas, and one of the reasons we've seen a little bit more of this, the Phoenix defenses, with the changes to the Phoenix, you know for a fact it's going to take a little bit more investment. And the one thing a lot of teams do around these Phoenixes is they forget to actually kill it.
Yeah.
They focus so much on the kills and making sure people aren't there to defend that they don't invest enough time into actually attacking it, which slows down these assaults.
Well, there's a couple of towers left as well. Fire Giant's still going to be on for about a minute and a half for NRG. So you go and you try to push that Phoenix, and if you're not able to do so, you just kind of settle for the towers because this is not the game-winning push.
Well, you mentioned it was 5K when they got the Gold Fury. They've still not been back to base since that Gold Fury.
Yeah.
So that 5K lead isn't as useful until you've spent it overall. So
now you got a 10K lead, it's still in the pocket.
Precisely, so let's go back to base after maybe the tier 2. They're not even going to go for the tier 2. Back to base now. They've got, what, another minute left on the Fire Giant for a siege, potentially, if they want to go to it. Or take a fight at the Portal Demon.
I love the Mantle of Discord on both maniaKK and Adapting. Adapting has been the facilitator all game. Heavy damage earlier on. He was top damage for 2/3 of this game so far. Not because he was just, slamming everybody, but because he constantly finds himself in the middle of the team fight doing those AoE moves.
Looking a lot more like Adapting though as well, Like, for the way we've seen him this year, he's not seen the same. A lot of people have criticized him, and with fair right to do so, but he's looking a lot more like his old self.
I'm going to agree as far as quality is concerned, but this is a very different style of play from Adapting. Now, the Noble game where he's playing Thor, he built really tanky.
Sure.
Here, he's building really tanky. This is a different style of adapting. This is, and pardon the pun, simply because I can't find another word. It's adapting's adaptation to the game style that Dignitas is playing right now.
I actually think that's one of the issues NRG have had an issue with all year, is adapting to the playstyle, adapting to the meta that's been presented to them. They were so into Season 2 and 3, which were very similar in a lot of ways. Season 4 did mix things up enough that now NRG are like, hang on, how does this work again? Why are we losing these games? Well, now they've started to find their footing.
Raffer pushed up a little bit. maniaKK gonna spearhead the left side horn. And Yammyn gonna bring the horn. The doubleune for the big man. And that's gonna be number 16 in total for NRG. Zero's on the run, adapting on the chase. That's the big style of adapting that you were talking about, Graham. Here comes maniaKK. Trixtank with a nice defensive ultimate, but NRG way up in there.
And what ends up happening is Trix and Variety try and be able to save Zyrhoes. They do just that, but in the end, Variety goes down, and now it's just Trix and Zyrhoes to defend a Portal Demon and a Fire Giant that I guarantee you they won't get a chance to look at.
Now this is classic NRG. The attention to timers from NRG has been one of the reasons why this squad finds themselves so consistently successful over the past 2.5 years. Here, they find themselves looking for the team fight. Raffer pushes up and literally forces Dignitas to fight. If Dignitas don't collapse on the lonely support, they're doing it wrong. maniaKK forces the flank on the left side, and that brings Dignitas over, but that just allows maniaKK to trap players in, give his mid laner the double kill, and you know why they chose that moment? Because the Fire Giant comes up exactly when they're done.
And look at how, I thought they were just going to leave that for the minions, but they realized, hang on, those two archers will not kill it in time. So NRG looking good to get the first 2 games under their belt. The next game today is Space Station Gaming, which is another big game for them. But to be fair, all of these games in the wildcard are, if they manage to take this, that puts them at 2-0 already in this group stage.
This is the scariest team for
for sure, because they play each other all the time, they know each other so well, but they also know how to deal with each other. They've played so many scrims together over the years. They'll know where the weaknesses of Dig are. This game, where was the focus from? Trixtank.
Also, just
on the tree.
Also, just quick and dirty, Tom's power rankings, Dignitas is number 1. NRG, this is the toughest competition in this 6-team roster.
For sure.
Going up against Space Station Gaming, I think NRG are sitting here saying, if we can beat the black and yellow, we can beat anybody.
And that should be the confidence level they'll be able to go in with, too. Yeah. So that's going to be a big thing for NRG with how this game has gone so far. I think Dignitas need to look at changing their strat because Trix is just getting focused every fight. There's not much he can do. He is engaged with the team.
Disjointed. They're not helping each other the way they have.
They have all week. Like the set against Rival, you saw that they weren't able to end games because they were disjointed. Not because they weren't able to play at the level we know. They just weren't all on the same page. There was no setup for the Toth ultimate. So the Toth ultimates were going out blind yesterday. And that meant when they weren't used and look at Trix, he's getting focused again and nobody's looking to help.
maniaKK just going right on top. Yammyn taking care of Zyrhoes on the right-hand side. While maniaKK down B's for justice. Arkkyl killed in the fountain. King Kenneth chasing him all the way home. Qvofred gets out of the hand of the jungler as well. And emilitoo picks up 1. Dia side, left side, Phoenix is toast.
Look at maniaKK in the bottom left-hand corner.
The Titan
Brutal.
is just as good as dead.
Brutal game. Fantastic performance from NRG. No real surprises, honestly. No. With how the start of the game went Dignitas' way. Remember the first kill on Raffer?
Yep.
I was like, okay, Dig are on the same page today. They're looking good. And then it slipped again. A couple of team fights went their way where, like I said, they picked off a couple of members of NRG in a row. Do you remember that around the Portal Demon? One after the other like lemmings. But then at the end of the day, NRG still quite on top.
I don't know if you guys can hear him through the microphones.
That's
NRG's going nuts. Raffer stood up so fast. Now, you and I know Raffer, and Raff is a very cool, calm, collected dude. Win or lose, he's just sort of like, hey, mate, we did it, right? We're gonna go out for some scrims later on. That much excitement is rare for NRG, and I think that's the type of win that's going to bolster them and bring them to the top.
I actually think as well, the one thing that NRG got out of maniaKK, that Dimmy's a little bit more reserved after they win games. Like, yeah, we won. Whereas maniaKK, he'll let you know.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, adapting lets you know. You've seen him Super Saiyan out, as people called it when at the World Championship. So he's an extra voice that's going to get you pumped and get you hyped for the games. All these players love each other. They've seen each other a long time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, just the looks on those NRG guys' faces. Real talk, I haven't seen that in a while.
That's relief.
I haven't seen
That's
that in
a
a while.
year's worth of relief. Like, we might be. And I think they're now confident. They'll now be
Yes.
confident after
That's
2
what-
wins under the belt. That's what it is.
That's what I'm saying, is that level, NRG have seemed a little bit anxious, a little bit worried, and a little bit cautious the
Right.
entirety of the year.
They needed to, because everyone realized that they've been caught. Everyone has realized they came 5th, technically, in Europe.
Yeah.
That says it all. Elevate came above them. They've not had a good year overall. Performances at LANs were bad. Then facing off against what everyone says is potentially the #1 team in Europe. Obey definitely up there too, and clearly showing it. But it's been trouble. It's been real trouble.
And finally, bringing it out for the win here. I think that, the win against Noble, NRG spoke to them about it, and they were like, yeah, we beat Noble. I think if I'm going to go back there and talk to them right after this one, and I'm going to get a very, very different answer. I expect a lot of emphatic players coming out from NRG after their win. NRG Dignitas, fun game. Let's look deeper.
Adapting is excited to move on after beating Dignitas. They've won their first 2 games and are off to a great start in the group stage. I'm Aggro, joined by Taco, and once more, Alpha Jackal, the coach for Rival. Guys, what is going on with Dignitas?
Dignitas just seems as though they're not really playing coordinated as a team like what we've been seeing from them online all season. Previously, whenever they were going into their matches, it just looked like everybody was on the same page. They were all coordinated. They were all working together. But there's been multiple scenarios and multiple picks that have occurred on that team in their games where it's just no one seems to be helping each other.
I just think that right now, Team Dignitas are throwing a bit too much at certain objectives. During the online phase, they knew when to give up certain things, they knew when to give up certain buffs, because they could then come back 3 minutes later and defend the next speed buff, or give up this fire giant, defend the next fire giant, potentially take it. But as we saw in this game, when the portal demon was taken down, split resources were put into defending it and then taking the ensuing fight. They lose the ensuing fight, and from there on in, it was just NRG consistently goading Dignitas into fights that they didn't want to take.
It just seems to me that Dignitas has not had a unified voice that they are following. And that was the kind of one of their best calling cards from the fall split, was that once a call was made, it was 5 incredibly talented players following it. And they seem to be kind of on different pages right now. What can lead to that, Alpha?
Just having a set of disappointment, I'd say, is the best word. They came into this and I think they expected to get the win against us. Probably not as easily as we got the win against them, but maybe like 3-1 or 3-2. To be down here in the group stages, playing on days where they didn't expect to play, can put a team onto a bit of a tilter. And then having what happened to them in this game where they're ahead, and then having that lead taken away from them in one fell swoop, can put them over the edge.
Again, it just that call to do Portal Demon, and we just want a team fight, let's do Portal. And in particular, Zyrhoes and Arkkyl are both very, very healthy, and they just wait and wait and wait, and it buys an energy enough time to come back. ML ends up cleaning up that team fight. Some hesitation there from Dignitas, which is pretty uncharacteristic.
It was very uncharacteristic of the squad. In fact, I think more particularly, looking at Qvo and Variety, where it just always seemed as though their target focus was on separate pages. Every single time the Variety would be approaching the backline, you would just see Arkkyl and Zyrhoes entirely too far back to have any sort of follow-up damage, any sort of impact on those team fights, and then Qvo or Variety would just end up getting picked off for it.
And there was also another situation 18 minutes in where they're at the Gold Fury. They're looking like they're trying to do it, looking to pull it. I think they do end up taking it. But then just a huge engage comes out from iRaffer, drops those Dharmic Pillars, forces the leash actually, so they didn't pick it up.
Right.
And then Big Ohm comes in, adapting blinks and gets a 4-man Spear of Immortal Pain. Fight is immediately over from there. And Dignitas just get completely destroyed.
In that team fight as well, I believe it was Arkkyl. Yeah, this is the one where he just gets one shot. Arkyl's relic usage has not been good so far this Super Regionals. Numerous times he's died with his relics up and available, and he's got to recognize that he's going to be the focus just about every time as a hunter.
Initially, I thought that it might have just been a matter of him not having those relics until his respawns, but at a closer look, I do have to agree. For a hunter to consistently miss out on saving himself. He can't always be relying on the team to do that. At a certain point, you just have to ensure that you're going to stay alive for your own team.
And what's more, back in the summer split and the spring split, he played gods like Ram and Jingwei a lot. Those very safe hunters that just allow him to farm up to the late game where he can then be a part of the team fights. These sort of games, he's not being able to play that Jingwei because she doesn't really fit the meta at this point. Ram's been banned out against him a couple of times. He's forced onto these lot more unsafe hunters, which he doesn't really look entirely comfortable on.
What is the reasoning that Jingwei has kind of fallen out of the meta?
She just doesn't offer enough in terms of wave push. Yes, she's safe and she will be able to farm up quite consistently, but if you're continuously allowing aggression onto your own jungle as a hunter, you're going to fall behind. The other hunter's going to get massively ahead, and they already get ahead from the rest of the team because of how much farm they get. Just having a hunter 2 levels above you means they're 4 levels above the enemy team, and it's just impossible to stop them.
Well, Dignitas, they need to kind of regroup up against Elevate because they just lost up against NRG, and now NRG is already up they've already got 2 points out of their 2 games thus far. They're not guaranteed HRX now because of it, but they've certainly put themselves in a great spot. You could, like the casters were talking about, there is a confidence that is kind of resurged for NRG recently.
And this might be a little bit early to call, but if Dignitas come out with the same sort of hesitation and the same sort of dysfunctional team fighting that they had against NRG, I don't think they stand a chance against Elevate because Elevate looked amazing yesterday, even though they ended up losing their set against Obey. And that team, I still would think that most people actually are rating very highly for coming out of the groups today.
And I think that if any of the teams that people don't expect to go to Worlds are going to go to Worlds, Elevate is going to be that team. A lot of people read them off as probably finishing 3rd, maybe 4th in this group stage. They could potentially finish 2nd, maybe even 1st if they find the win against NRG tomorrow.
This is going to be a really big one. Let's take a look at the schedule and see what we've got going on for the rest of the day today as well. If you're just joining us, you've missed NRG looking really clean in their first 2 matches. They're up 2-0 already on everybody else. Elevate and Dig is up next. And that Elevate Space Station matchup is one that has a lot of implications. That's the first time that we're going to see an NA team that had dropped down from the semifinals. How well can Space Station bounce back from a tough set against LG?
Space Station might have fallen against Luminosity, but I think that Space Station have already surpassed what everyone else's expectations were for this team coming into Super Regionals, because most people kind of just overlook Space Station as being a team with 5 individual star players who couldn't really pull it all together. I think that they have pulled it all together. If anything, it's just coming down to a little tweaks and fixes within their own drafts.
And they have shown that they can do it. They took LG to a 5-game set, which most people didn't expect. They said maybe they can take a game against LG, but they're not going to win the set. They almost did, and that surprised a lot of people. Same with Elevate. They didn't expect Elevate to take Obey to 5 games and almost win that set as well. So these 2 teams have shown that they have improved. They are doing better than everybody expected. Who's got the upper hand?
I mean, Space Station has got to try and get the ball rolling for themselves up against Elevate. And then the team that we haven't seen yet and won't see until the end of the day, really, is Trifecta. They were the first team we saw at the Super Regionals. They went up against United, and they really weren't on the stage for very long. How do you bounce back from a situation like that where you get 3-0'd and you get 3-0'd pretty quick?
For Trifecta and their stance, it could seem pretty brutal trying to come into the group stages today, but I think if anything, their experience on Wednesday really helped them in gathering a more solid knowledge of the meta and where exactly they can actually stand within it, because prior to, there was a lot of talks about not really having too much for scrims, not really getting enough practice, and that can really have a massive impact, especially in these sort of circumstances where everybody has actually had that practice.
Well, if you want to know how to bounce back from getting 3-0'd pretty quickly, don't do what Dig did. It's essentially what did happen.
Rival taking it to Dignitas yesterday, and Alpha Jackal has not missed a shot yet. He's going to take him every chance he gets.
I'm British. What else do you expect?
That's part of it. You shouldn't miss your shot to get some of the previous World Championship skins. They're on sale right now. That Cogsilla, the NRG Kronos, and the Epsilon skin. Couple of magical damage dealers, which I'm never upset about. That's part of the most fun. That's the most fun part of Smite, doing big magical damage numbers.
I mean, considering that 2 of those skins are energies, basically. Well, I mean, the Epsilon, it still technically belongs to them, but with the way things are looking for them so far, you might end up finding them again at Worlds. So, NRG, if they can keep at the pace, it's going to be pretty spooky.
They've been killing it, absolutely, and so many things that you can kind of take advantage of at home. We already told you about the Select Esports content that was off earlier, those skins as well. Now you can make sure that you're entering getting your votes on these matches. Got to earn that FP while you still can. Plenty of great skins on that season ticket.
Don't be like me and forget to put in your vote every single time. You will regret it later on.
Coke Theaters, we're partnered with them yet again. Last year was a ton of fun. This year it's going to be even better. If you can't make it all the way to Atlanta, which I hope that you can to join us for HRX, this is the next best thing. Go to your local theater and watch HRX on the big screen.
So it's not in between two hells.
Okay,
here.
we're not. No, you know, when I'm not on the desk, you guys control me with that. But when I'm here, I'm in control.
I can't be the only one that suffers from this, man.
You can,
no,
and
because
you
it's
are.
happened to me twice now.
You are
so
two
now
against
it's
one
your
aggro.
turn.
It's your own fault. You know, being in this chair means that you're in control here on the desk, Taco.
There
and you
is
can't
no
just
controlling Polar Bear Michael or Ron Jobber. I'm just throwing that one out there right now.
Pretty fair, actually. It's fair enough. Dignitas.